Hope having a good day. And today I'm going to talk about the governance on the power platform, especially around the public sector. And this morning we have the great sessions about how we use the power platform, how we can openly use it, and we talk about the AI. And I have a joke about it. This is more like a real joke. And then when we're working on the public sector, we talk about the AI and the possibility of the use of the AI in the public sector. The first question I get is, how do we differentiate the content is generated by AI or human? It is so from the public sector, the way they see the technologies has a totally different lens, where from the delivery partner, we want to promote the new technology, but on the public side, they want to make sure they are the right fit to them and they don't have any kind of a loophole and leak. So this session is all about this. And the today agenda, so we use the WGP CGR. I'm pretty sure you will have no idea. We'll do that. And followed by the segregation of the environments, how we should be having the power platform, and what is the standards development, what we should be doing in the power platform in the public sector. And before going there, let me go through about me. I'm Aung. You can just call me AK. My initial is much way easier for everybody. And I have the working experience with the public sectors and the delivery partners. So not just on the client side, it's also from the delivery partners. And I work a different area, different role, but I'm a developer at my heart, so I'm still doing coding at my free time. And these are, let me think myself. Yep. So these are the little, like a small icons that you can make a guess about what are my hobbies. Any guess? Yes.
Mountain biking.
Good job.
Motorbikes.
Yes.
Music.
Yeah. Judo. I don't have any high expectation. I say white belt. My 11 years old daughter can beat me. Right. So that's it.
The icon from Martini, actually. Famous Martini that you might was the icon.
So what is the WGP CGR? I give you a hint. Yeah, what? All right. So with great power comes great responsibility. I don't know. Okay. Well, so why I say that, and in this morning sessions about band sessions, so you talk about the custom connectors, and Eliza talk about the Power Automate. At the Power Platform, we got 1,049 connectors. That state is the as of 2 days ago. So it might be increasing, right? Because Microsoft and third parties, providers and ISP providers actively working on creating the custom connectors and publishing them. Now we have the public sector, so like DIA just now, they're using the Power Platform and Dynamics 365. Obviously, they can use all these. Potentially, they can use all the 149 connectors, 1,049 connectors. And the interest is totally different. For the Microsoft and the third parties service, an independent software provider, they are all about pushing it. Right? But when it comes to the public sector, it's all about saying no, because we don't want new things. It's not because they don't want the innovations, it's just that they want to make sure this is the right fit for them. Right? So out of the 1,000 connectors, maybe they will only think maybe 20 connectors is only right use for us. Right? And the rest of the 9,800 connectors is a quite high risky connector to them, because you can connect to the Gmail. Everybody have Gmail account, right? You don't want to expose your public sector data into your personal account. So they got all these concerns. And Now, if we look at the Power Platform audience, we got the three different type of audience. One is the business users or the citizen developers, as we call, and they are interested in creating the flows and apps to boost their productivity, right? So they might create a simple, when they receive an email, do something on the team, something like that. And we got a little bit more like a power user. So some of the public sector and government departments do have this kind of functionality, which is like an internet power platform thing, who can develop a bit of power platform solutions. But these are mainly working on developing low value, high velocities, which is like a small solutions, the internet for the internet use. But now we have the delivery partner like the DXCs, the Fusion Files, and also things. They are coming into the public sector. They deliver the enterprise grade solutions, right? High value enterprise solutions. So these are the interests from each audience. So if we categorize it, creating the apps and flows to increase productivity, it became more like a productivity tools, creating productivity tools. And for the internet power platform team, they want to build the apps and the solution quite quickly, more like a technical solutions for the short to medium term. And obviously the delivery partner, we need to rely on them to create a enterprise grade solutions and strategy solutions because they have the capacity, they have the resource. So if we look at this as the business user, the productivity tools, these are more like an automated daily tasks. They're working with the mainly M365 products like your Outlook, which cannot be blocked by anything. And they don't need any ALM process because it is mainly for like a quick apps and for their individual use. Those mainly comes from the Canvas apps and the Power Automate. Now we have the internet development team, which prefer to deliver the technical solutions. But this number here is just the arbitrary numbers. It can be anything. For example, any project take less than 6 months, maybe development will decide we want to use our internet team. These are not a really big value, and we can deliver quickly, and they may use some of the ELM process, but manually. But again, these can be the model-driven apps, Canvas apps, or platform, or pages. But if you look at this, the technical solutions, the solutions are really embedded within the Power Platform. It is not about Azure, creating the Azure API and Azure size or differently. Now, this strategic solutions, the enterprise, the delivery partners is maybe more than 6 months. It may be multi-million dollars values. They have the specializations like a DIA, they got the passports, citizenships, fully developed application lifecycle management for the CI/CD. These are the enterprise-grade solutions, not just a Power Platform. It could be Azure. It could be any other cloud platform like AWS or even like a Google. And it's not just the apps that they can, they also have the capability around the data and insights. And obviously in the public sector, we need the operational support, which we will have the Power Platform team or our support partner. If you look at this side, the majority is if we think about let's say we create a new government, which is today, and we have a new government and maybe the new ministry, we have nothing, we start using the Power Platform. Natural progress, maybe like you start using some productivity tools, technical solutions, and strategic solutions. But for the established government agency and public sector side, the majority is the other way around, because we have our delivery partners heavily involved in everything, but we don't have much involvement from the end user on the public sector. So this is something that we see in some of the government comments. So to promote the Power Platform to there's two layers of the business user and internet Power Platform team. We we thought we should have like a segregated environments for different purpose. For example, citizen developer and business users, right? So we know the default environment cannot be locked down. So anybody who has the M365 license can access the default environment. And if they have the right permissions, they can create the Canvas apps and automate, right? Imagine we are not locking down any of the over 1,000 connectors. Everybody can kind of expose the data to the personal storage or GB like that. And now we have the internet power platform team. But we have a little bit of the super user, they know what to do. And what we think is maybe probably like we should do have even share environments, share development. It's more like a common area that they can create an apps. But at the same time, not like a default environment, they will need to follow the element process, having the dedicated environments for development, testing, and productions, and so on, so that we have a little bit of control and predictability around what they are doing. Obviously, the delivery partners, so we have these business environments, which is more like we rely on the delivery partners like a DXCs, Fusion Funds, and Microsoft, and they have the more kind of like a little bit of like a more freedom on. So now we got the three different types of environments. How are we going to achieve like setting the different permissions on the where data is going on and in? So each environment, there are classifications and the governance control can be different. For example, default environment. So in the New Zealand, we got data classification wise unclassified, in confidence, restricted, and so on. So first, obviously, in the default environment, probably data classification is anything in the unclassified can be stored. The shared environment, we could potentially step up anything unclassified plus in confidence can be in this environment. Business environments, obviously, some of the restricted information can potentially exit in the business environments. But this is not really from the Power Platform core, mainly from the cybersecurity decisions and security assessments. But this gives this stage, the different environments will give you the flexibility that you can apply a data classification you want to store on the different environments. So first of all that we're going to do is looking at the data loss prevention policy, DLP policy. So we got like I said, over 1,000 connectors. We can connect to thousands of data sources, right? And then from the default environment, we need to use as the most restrictive environment, because this is where everybody can access as long as you have M365 license. They can create canvases, they can create flows. So these environments need to be really restrictive, which means we only allow, for example, M365 connectors, which is Word, Outlook, and so on, a SharePoint, and anything that connectors you cannot block, because some of the connectors we can block, right? So there's no choice, we have to put it there. And the shared environments, it's become less restrictive. What I mean by less restrictive here is maybe it will have a like a database connectors, and this is where we pre-end those connectors. So out of 1,000 connectors in the default environment, we can only choose, let's say, 10 connectors. And on top of that, in the shared environments, we allow 5 more connectors, like a database. It might be Azure Data Lake and so on, right? So this is more like the additive layering, and the business environments can be more permissive because you will have more capabilities and more integration points that you need to use more connectors, and this is more like a business-specific connectors. So you can see default really strict. You can do much. Share environments, yes, we pre-endorse it, and you can do a bit more. Obviously, the business environments you can do by the business requirements. And the things that we need to do is all the connectors in the Power Platform need to be blocked by default, because otherwise Microsoft add the new connectors or third party add the new connectors is automatically available everywhere, which the public server doesn't want this way. If we stage this way, the benefit that we have is, whereas we can have is really simple process of exemption of the connectors. So for example, today we may not use the Adobe PDF connectors, right? But one of the business environments, business projects say, oh, we need to convert the whatever we generate into the PDF, and we think the Adobe is the right service, or maybe the Adobe can do that. And then if we look at that, we only currently focusing on the allowing the opening up to the Adobe connectors to use the PDF, and also that encourage the the use of the consistent use of the connectors. But if you go to the Power Automate connectors, you will see about 4 or 5 PDF connectors, like from Adobe, Accordion, and so on. They got so many connectors that can do quite similar things. And if you have the multiple projects, it is quite easy to use the different type of connectors. Maybe DXC prefer Adobe, right? Microsoft prefer the Word Online business. Another vendor prefer Accordion. So now we have a fragmented connectors that doing quite similar things, which is not really ideal for like a public setup. So by doing that, if somebody say asks us, hey, we want to convert to the PDF and we need this connector, then governance team can go back and say, hey, we already have the capability, the connectors, we should be using this. So this way we got a lot more control on the connectors. And when we talk about the governments, the next thing that always pop up is the Center of Excellence. And anybody use Center of Excellence here? So this is the text extracted from Microsoft official documentations. I'm not going to read it. And here the main thing is Microsoft support won't help you with any issue related to this kit. So the way the public sector will see this is it is not a platform features, because Center of Excellence Toolkit is another Power Platform, another database environment that retrieve all the information from the whole tenant and store it there. So this is not really a platform features. It's something that they have built. So Center of Excellence is very useful for the small and more agile, organizations. Something like a public sector government, we know it's not agile, right? It's always restricted and rigid and slow. And so this COE is just a toolkit. So the way we need to see in the public sector is COE is not just a toolkit. It is a tool plus people and process. This is the actual Center of Excellence. So if we are not doing the Center of Excellence, what is another options? We got the managed environments. Anybody start using managed environments? One. Yes, so to me, this is natural successor to the COE toolkit. Obviously, the managed environment is the relatively new features, and they keep adding the new things. But my guess is in the future, there's going to deliver a lot of the capability from the COE, and they will put into the managed environments. So it's a set of the premium like capabilities on the Power Platform. It comes with the platform. You don't need to install anything. You just turn it on. Obviously, there's a licensing limitations. You need to have the premium license to do that. So you can limit the sharing of the Canvas apps. You can likely have the Insight report weekly, the digest. You can have a pipeline set up for the different environments. For example, I'm not a DevOps person, so I'm not really proficient in DevOps stuff. But someone like me, this is quite useful where we can promote your solutions from one environment to another environment. and the configuration way. And you can use like a CMK. Anybody use CMK? I think there's only one government agency I know that use CMK. Where you can encrypt your data at rest using your managed key, not the Microsoft managed key. And something like a lockbox where you can lock your data and make when Microsoft want to access this, they need to request your approval to access the data, even for the support ticket. And also, we have the ability to extend the backup retentions. So usually, without the managed environments, your backups are only still 7 days. It can be extended to 28 days, and then the managed environments. So these are we should be moving forward to looking forward into using managed environments in the future. So now we got started on all the environment. Are we ready to use it? Probably not yet, right? And so because when you give the environments to the process, they will start building it. So when they build it, we need to put some of the guidelines and the working with together, educating them. But before that, let me give you the traditional process and the governance and the public setups. So this diagram begins with the kick off the project, meaning all the foundation has been sorted out, or I don't really care about those. So now we start working on it. So we got the implementers here. They start building the applications. They start building it. It takes maybe 2 months, 6 months, a year. And when the application is ready to go live, normally what will happen is they need to go through a review board called the governance board, which is like a architecture review board or design review board. They will review the system and they will make the decisions whether we're going to endorse the solutions or not. Obviously, you got two options: you endorse or you don't endorse. If you endorse, good, everything fine. If they don't endorse, go back to here, we fix it, review it. So it is like a loop here, right? So the problem with it is governance came very late, right? So it came like after you built the system. But once you build something, if you want to change something, it takes effort, it takes time, which means you need to spend more budget. So we have to fix it. And to fix it, this is the development of the standards for the Power Platform became quite important. So when I say the standards, it is the development of pre-endorsed guidelines to realize that you need to do in the implementations. For example, I will show the examples on the standards for the database. So we need to define data storage and movement. For example, if it is a file, do you want to store in a database? Do you want to store in a SharePoint? Do you want to store in Azure Block? Solution packaging, deployment, like user onboarding and rules. Do we use the minimum security rules? How do we onboard the user with the minimum manual process? These are the things that we need to define in the guidelines. For example, like a Power Automate. Power Automate is very useful. We all know that, but we also need to define the boundaries of where to use the Power Automate, where to use the logic apps, where to use the function apps, or even like a plugins, because yes, Power Automate can do so many things. It's awesome, but for some scenario, maybe you stay with Azure function apps, which will give you a more performance and more effective cost. Maybe sometimes you need to write plugins. So these are the boundaries that we need to find. Where is the use of the Power Automate, and when we should be using other stuff. Also, something like a Power Automate, we need to really pay attention to the connection management. When you connect to the different data sources, how do we want to connect it? Who want to own it? These are the things that we need to define at the standards. And Power Pages, even more dangerous. Power Pages is because it is the public-facing website, right? So you are exposing the data from database to public. So if something wrong here, you have the potential to expose the unwanted informations. The unauthorized person can have access to your data. Because database is pretty secure because it sits under your Azure 80, and the worst case, if your account get hacked, This is the things. But here, if you misconfigure it, this is where you can export the unwanted data. Again, same thing as the Power Automate. Power Pager is not a solution for everything, right? So they're very good at exposing the data from database to public and receiving the data from public to the database. But if it becomes really complex, probably you need to look at the developing your own custom sites, or maybe you have the CMS content management system to deal with that. And Power Pages cannot compete with like a well-defined CMS. And also we need to identify what is the identity, what's the permissions model, and how do we manage the JavaScripts? Because when you use Power Pages, you got to use the JavaScripts, and this is the only in the Nick Dolan sessions. They say JavaScripts and Liquid. That's the only thing that you can do. But how do we want to manage the template? Obviously, all these things that shared by like your naming standard, licensing, data analysis, monitoring, like performance and error handling, authentication, authorization across the different component on the Power Platform. So we have to define, we then need to set the guidelines. If you want to use the database, you need to comply all these ticks, which means when they go to the governance sessions for the review, approval, endorsement, they're pretty much done it. So any questions? Some of the examples here, like for the naming standard, consistent use of the prefix and the publishers, it seems to be a very minor thing, but having the consistent naming really helpful, and consistent postfixes, usually for example, a code, like your category code for the choice. So put the code. So as soon as you see that, you don't need to look at the data type. You already know this could be choice. Also, like an email integration, for example, we know the database can do the server-side integration, server-side synchronizations, but this is mainly for the common labels. Obviously, you will have the questions, where can we track the user email in the database? Technically, is it possible? Absolutely, but should we do it? Probably not. The reason is once it is your personal email or the public sector email, it is in your mailbox. As soon as you integrate that and put it into the database, any higher privilege user could potentially see your email, which in the email content, you might have your own sensitive informations, your personal information that you don't want to share. So these are the things that we need to be really careful. So when we track that, how do we ensure we are not tracking the unwanted information tracking into the database? These are the things we need to do. Technically possible, but we need to put the validation point, checkpoint to ensure data is not replicated everywhere. Authentication or authorizations, do we adopt a minimum privilege rule? And anybody use the application user in the database? Do you assign system administrator role?
Sorry?
You assign system administrator role to application user?
I can't. Yes.
Yes. So here it's like one of the things is that we want to avoid using system administrator role to the a application user, which means we don't want to have higher privilege for security. This is not really from the not really from the platform. This is mainly from the security, the concerns that it's not just only but we see everywhere. We see they use the application user, go and check the role, get a system administrator role, which means they have the really high privilege. They can do whatever they want in the system. And something like a Power Automate, we use like a band sessions about that. We prefer the custom connectors to over the HTTP connectors. The reason is HTTP connector, I say it is the magic connectors because everything is HTTP, right? So you can literally connect to everything if you allow HTTP connector to use. We can block the Gmail connector, so you can use the Gmail connector. But if you know enough about the API of the Gmail, you can use the HTTP connector to connect to Gmail. So Actually, beginner is a really high risk security, as we see. And also like do we use the service transfer connections? For example, database, we have a service transfer. We can make the connection to database using the service transfer, but something like a SharePoint, no, we can't do that. We have to use the service account. So like in Power Pages, do we use a dedicated library for the Power Pages? Because in the Power Pages is one of the nightmare things. You can write a JavaScript literally almost everywhere, and it is so difficult to find. Unless you are the original developer, it's so hard to find what happened in the Power Pages. And because this is a public-facing website, a public-facing service, we need to set the permission as a closed by default, right? It should be closed by default, and you should set the permissions to the users as necessary. We couldn't afford to set the global and let them see all the information unless it is a public information. And what about the application file? Again, these are more driven by the security requirements. And packaging and deployment, we say, yeah, so we may want to measure, obviously, and manage in depth. That's the only thing that we should be using in depth. Otherwise, we screw. And using the managed solutions in the downstream environments to keep track of the solution versioning so that we know the consistency on the solutions. And for the deployment, do we have the well-defined deployment process? When I say well-defined, it could be the manual process. The reason is some of the smaller implementations, probably writing your DevOps will take more time to more than the actual implementations. But obviously, the enterprise-grade solutions, structured solutions, you need to have the actual DevOps pipelines to promote the changes to the downstream environments. So this is why, like I say, well-defined is not really unfortunately automatic, but automated is preferred. So we prepare all these standards. For example, the journey of the standards development is a bit, it is not like a one-off because these products keep changing. At least we know every 6 months there is a big release wave. And if we look at if we keep track of the version number, the Microsoft release almost weekly or almost fortnightly. So there is always changing in the system. So it is not just a one-time development. We do need to revisit and we do it. So this is more like a iterative development. You need a frequent review and you need a frequent enhancement because at the government, usually this is written in Node and what is the DIA, the part database and merit database, they have to be separated, which is from the World War II. So we can't do like that because systems keep changing, right? The features, new features coming, existing feature duplicating. So we have to frequently review. We have to frequently make the enhancement and seek for another endorsement. And then is the most difficult thing is the communication with the different stakeholders. It is not just a Power Platform. It become like a cybersecurity because data. They was look at it like a cybersecurity land. Who can access the data? What type of data they can access? And also from the data perspective, data team would look at it. Are we storing in the right data structures, the infrastructure integrations, and also obviously the end user businesses. And also we need to work with the delivery and our support partner together because they are the ones who is actually delivering the solutions and building the solutions. So that's why we call it the intrusive or invasive approach. So previously we got a traditional approach. Somebody built it, submit for review, reviewed it, decision for endorsement. So what we changed is it changed a little bit. We got the governance and implementers, and we start using like being intrusive and invasive and working, sharing our standards and guidelines, taking the shared responsibility, making the decisions as a team. And when they get like a initial approval, they can start building the applications. By the time review it, it is most of the tick box should be checked because we, are invasive. We don't let them do whatever they want, but we do work together. And by the time endorse, there's a slight possibility that you may not get endorsed, but a really high chance you will get endorsed straight away. So this is mainly for the delivery partner. And so you may ask, what about the citizen developers like this? Citizen developer approach is quite different. Because we restrict the default environment, it's really strict. We don't really care anymore because we don't really care. And citizen developer, you can build it, which is in the guarded default environment. And this is where we can start use the Center of Excellence toolkit to promote and create a catalog and so on the default environments. And it removes the governance process because sometimes one of the feedback we always look at is the building of the apps or the process is quite relatively fast. The governance process takes time, which means you spend a lot of budget on the governance. So we're removing the governance process and review process, which they can quickly develop the apps, which encourage the innovations and also the familiarity of the platform, right? So it is like a win situation for citizen dev. They can do the stuff, but in a limited way, but not like a full-fledged business environment that they can do. So in the summarizing, so we need to start considering if your departments or maybe I should access anyone from the public sector or so maybe like we should start looking at those how do we want to put the environment strategy in the organizations and also like develop the standards and develop the reusable patterns. If you're even like a delivery partners, then you can, when you work with the public sector, you can ask these questions like, do you have any, like a guideline that we can follow so that we don't want to fall into the trap like at the end of the 2 weeks before they go live and hey, everybody got problems and fixing the things. This is what we don't want to happen. And also, you collaborate with delivery partners. So we have to do the plan for futures because I don't know that later, right? So do it now. So, but when we say this like governance process in the first slide, I said it is the two opposite side, right? Delivery partner, as a delivery partner, you want to innovate, you want to use a feature, but at the public sector, they don't want to use it. They want to put the restrictions. They want to put the guidelines and guardrail. So let me give you this example. This is a real life example, right? So if you see the example, probably we will have the better common ground. Let's compare to the driving. You know who is that? So Sir Lewis Carl Davidson Hamilton, he won 7 times at World Driver Championships. So pretty sure he's not a slouch, right? He drives really well. So he got a record on one of the circuit called Monza, which is in Italy, one of the most speediest circuit. It is 5.793 kilometers long. His record is 1 minute and 18.87 seconds, which translates to 73.232 meters per second, right? And imagine he's coming to the New Zealand with his niece and nephew and his dog Roscoe having on the road trip. Which speed should he drive? Obviously, he can drive way faster, 265 kilometers per hour, but he's not alone. Niece, nephew, his dog, on the road from the New Zealand. Imagine.
Restrictions.
Yeah. Is it his capability? Are we doubting his capability? No, absolutely not. He won 7 times. He can drive flat out. But he needs responsibility. He needs nephew, his dog. And maybe in the straight, he might be a little bit naughty and he might drive at 150, who knows. But if he has the in the traffic and like driving with like other people. You need to follow the rules, right? This is for not for him, just for the safety about the community and society, right? So now if you compare that, and you will see, or having these governance rules and things, but not so bad. But we need to work together. We need to work as a team. Yeah, that's the end of the presentations. Any questions?
Question around, you mentioned that there's, a few tips and tricks, whenever you deal with any of the Power Platforms apps. I was wondering if there is a central place where you can enforce those things by policies, something like that.
Regarding the
Or like organization-wise, maybe you are, enabling or introducing the Power Platform, and there is a few security tips like, I think you've mentioned HTTP for connectors and assigning system administrators for people with, I don't know, Power Automate or something like that.
Yeah.
Can I write a policy to enforce these rules across, the entire Power Platform?
yeah,
Or
yeah. So it's yes and no, because we can't really enforce everything. So something like the connectors, yes, we can enforce it. But something like assigning the security rules, this is not something we can do. And we need to kind of a frequent review. And this is part of the standard development journey, so which we need to work with. Yeah, whoever working on that, they understand these are the requirements. It's more like an NFR, like an national requirement, not necessarily a business requirement, but they need to comply with these rules while working on the platform and making them aware of this is what we look at things. Yeah, and because in my past experience, every time they have like apps creating things, they need to go through the security review. And obviously, we don't want to find out all these issues at the end of the projects. We want to make sure they're aware of the rules and the compliance way before that. And to be honest, I'm pretty sure there will be something sneak past and something happening behind my back, but it's something that we need to work collaboratively.
How does the reverse works under the hood? I mean, so under the hood, does it sit on top of SQL Server? Like, is it relational database or something like data lakes, NoSQL, non-relational database, or what is it?
So for which one?
Or Dataverse?
For database. So database is more, to me, it's more like a heterogeneous data source. So this database is basically a data service. So data go into data SQL database, your file go into Azure blob storage. Obviously, you don't manage the blob storage, Microsoft manage it, and like audit log go into Cosmos DB. So they do have the different data capacity, and obviously some of the searching they might store in the Azure data lake for the indexing purpose, but everything's managed by Microsoft. And this is one of the things, the CMK, you might know that in the managed environment. So if you're concerned about Microsoft managing this, you could use your CMK to encrypt your data at the address, so Microsoft can basically retrieve the data. So thanks, Rami, for conducting this whole business application summit. Yeah, thank you, our sponsors.